So, I wanted to start one more time by giving an awesome shout out to White Metal Games. I would suggest that you all watch them, and in fact, dun, 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 let me get this real quick. I would suggest you go over and give them a follow. They're a great group of people. They do really cool minis, and I'm going to show you some of their work because they run contests when they broadcast, and they will give out a miniature, some terrain, other cool stuff like that if you're in chat and you're participating, and that's all it takes. So anyway, I was participating because I was hanging out with them for a while, and I ended up winning, and I won. Let me show you. I won that cute little brown earth elemental. However, when I was talking with them, they said, "Oh, you know what? We might be able to throw in one or two extra things for you." And thank them for that. They included quite a few extra little things here. As you can see, not only did I get that earth elemental, but they included this orcish hunter, which has a fully flocked base. This kind of sorcerer, or this I don't know what you'd want to count her as, with also a flocked base, and then this cool looking spirit wall. There's a little bit better of a close up. So they hooked me up, and I told them, you know what, you are great. I wanted to give them a shout out, both their Twitch and to visit their website, which is White Metal Games. They have, you can send them your minis, and they'll paint them for you. You can negotiate a price, and as you can see, they do a really good job. Is this me selling out? Not necessarily, because I won this, and they decided to throw that in there. And they have some custom dice too. But I think it's a great resource for you all. And here, I want to show off the... it'll take a second for it to focus. Let's get my face out of there. Come on, camera, do your thing. Say it. Oh, you know what? Look at that. She's she's so green that the chroma cast. Oh, jeez. Yeah, the chroma. Apparently, so we have an invisible stalker who's wearing a wonderful red dress. Well, anyway, so there's that. Here's the spirit wall. There we go. Isn't that something? And also, as an update for you all, if you're just joining us on the on part 2, thanks to you coming in and spending some quality time storytelling and just hanging out and being big old nerds, I was able to reach affiliate status today. And that means that I can do fun things with bits, and I can do some things with subscriptions, like get some contests going where I might even be able to give out some minis of my own, or to have raffles for things like books that I can ship out to you all for participating. But that's my way of saying thank you to you all for helping to achieve this. Oh, come on, focus on her. Don't focus on me. Nope. I don't exist. Where am I going? Come on, camera. There she is. Isn't that something? Nice base, too. I'm not even just being cheeky. Thank you, Delcorn. I appreciate you saying that. And yeah, the D6s. Okay. So that was my grateful shout out to White Metal Games and White Metal Games TV for hooking me up, and in return, I want to make sure that my community, which is comprised of all of you, like you're not mine in that sense, but us together, maybe we can do something fun and kind for them as a way of paying it forward, and then we just sort of get into this arms race of nice deeds. Okay. Oh, snap! Well, thank you, Del. And you know what? I don't have my fancy Streamlabs animation for that. You would have been the first one to trigger it. But Streamlabs OBS, or slobs as we're calling it, it was dropping frames so hard last night. I was dropping like 65% of my frames, and at one point in time there was like a 10-minute delay that was buffered or built up because of it. It was crazy. And so all today I spent time like resetting in normal OBS my channel, just because I didn't know if I could trust the Streamlabs one. But my Streamlabs one has all the cool animations and the little GIF that'll show up and it'll go doo-doo-doo-doo-doo when that happens. Oh wow. Well, you know what? I really appreciate that, Del. And you know what? Every little bit helps. Every little, any other contributions, I'm gonna pay it back to you all by creating a channel that is even better every week that we're on. That I want to pay it forward and do some fun contests for. Maybe I'll write you a story, or maybe I'll do some. I can send a mod, or I can do a contest where one of you can win a PHB or something, some special edition book or another. And that way it creates a fun sense of community, and we're supporting each other, right? So yeah, thank you so much. All right, we have a map to make, and if you remember, here's our handy dandy MS Paint. Dun, 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 dun. We already have generated. Oh, I know nothing about it, so I'm no help. I picked up some bits for the first time a few days ago in anticipation. Oh, well, you have psychic powers. I have Writer open to take some notes if we need to. I'll keep that open over here. I have the DMG open because we are going to be generating some wilderness, and I want to talk about that a little bit. Now, what kind of a map are we going to make? Well, it so happens that of the 3 characters, well, 3 as of tonight we've generated, they all have links, and their backgrounds and who they are have really helped to define the land that's around them. So I figure this is an excellent exercise in storytelling, and we're getting our crayons out, so to speak, and we're going to create the environment that this week's module, because we're effectively pounding out a module every week now, or like an adventure or whatever, a nice novel every week, what this area is going to look like. Now, we started out here with Rin Bobak, who we nicknamed the Slob, because she is an urchin, she doesn't like to bathe, and she was the character that I was trying to create during the SL OBS, the Slobs debacle of last night. So, as an urchin, as a very dirty girl, she earned the nickname the Slob. However, we rolled her into a ranger hunter. Now, being a ranger, you get several natural explorer features. Hers are the coast, a forest, and a mountain. Part of that, though, is by being an urchin, she's also kind of an urban ranger, too. She can navigate around, and she has some cool things she can do in a city environment. Well, then we bop over to Falco Steadyhand, who we also randomly rolled into a ranger who's a beastmaster. On top of that, for a natural explorer, he got Underdark and Coast. So for sure there's going to be a coast in here somewhere, or at least a large body of water. Whether it's salt or not, I'll get to that in just a second, actually, because I have a way to work in things like the Underdark as well. So now, by the sheer virtue that the characters exist, we're starting to define the world around us. It's just that easy to do. And then lastly, we have Germaine. I named her while we were on break. I was drinking sweet tea at the time, so you know what? I think we're going to make this a custom. All of our urchins are going to have some kind of a, like a street name that's based on whatever's going on when we're jamming out together here. So we have Germaine Sweet Tea Swift. And we can say in lore, right? Like, we know that it's sweet tea because I was drinking. It's technically like a diet sweet tea, but anyway. That maybe like Swift or Swifty sounds like sweet tea. There we go. However, she's an urchin, meaning that there has to be a city around. So we now, between the 3 characters, have 2 that grew up in a city, and under very unfortunate circumstances. So this is probably a larger one, right? It has an orphanage, and it has all this other stuff. And there has to be a coast somewhere around as well. So let's do this. We are going to roll a D4. I reset this, and we're going to find out. Actually, we're going to roll a D8 and find out which direction this body of water is going to lie in. With 1 starting at north. 5. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's going to be to the south. Sounds like my cats are like eating each other outside this door here. We're going to kind of draw a random coast here. Of course. There's always something somewhere that's doing that. That's fine, though. We'll just kind of scribble in over here. No one will know the difference, right? There we go. It's to the south. So we have a body of water. We're going to need a city. And it just so happens that cities exist nearby bodies of water. Though something to consider is, depending on the level of technology or magic, there's going to have to be fresh water somewhere around if we're going to have a city, unless this is built on, like, for instance, I live by Lake Erie, unless you're built on a giant body of fresh water. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go 1 for salt, like odds for salt, evens for fresh. And let's roll a d4. Evens for fresh. Okay, so they are on a large, like a Great Lake style situation here. That being said, this city is probably going to be built up pretty close to the water, if not on the water itself. So let's do something like this. We're going to take a rectangle, and we are going to draw a rectangle that's going to span a good portion of this here. Okay, and then we can go in and say that these are docks or other methods of commerce and shipping. Now, at least along Lake Erie, there's not a lot of traditional beaches. There are some. Sand exists and pebbles exist. But we're probably not going to see too much of this. Especially, well, maybe a little bit near the city. But where it starts getting a little bit more wild, and with it being freshwater, we're going to get a lot of things really close to shore. So we can kind of come out here, and we'll just draw like a little beach, and it's going to just cut off right about here. We're getting our inner Bob Ross on. There we go. This is fresh water as well, so we can... Ooh, that's bright, but it's grassy. There's a lot of fresh water coming around, probably a lot of rain, and we're going to get a lot of grass. Now, it's not just going to be grass either, because there's a couple other terrain features that we can work in based on the characters we've already generated. Underdark, and I will get to this. Hold that in the front of your brain. But we do have coast, or in this case, shore, technically. Here, I'll push up my glasses. It's a shore on a lake. But Rin also has forest and mountain. Now, there's a good chance that the forest isn't going to exist too close to the city, because they've already chopped down a lot of it for lumber for houses and boats and a lot of these things. We're also going to be needing to make a mountain of some kind. And so if we're doing that, then we should put some mountainous terrain off to the side, or we can even do something like this, where the mountain is creating kind of a natural harbor itself. Like, we can even say that it goes off the map somewhat. It's going to come up, and it's going to create this kind of natural... There we go. We don't need to make the whole map for what we're doing here. But it's going to even come out, it's going to come out and scoop a little bit into the lake. And we'll widen it out, and then we'll have it kind of come back here. Now, the type of mountain we're making, this is going to be, if we're sticking to Ohio, because it's what I know, we're thinking more like the Appalachians, right? They're old mountains. They're tired. They're wet. They've seen erosion. They're very overgrown with plants. And so it's here that we can then say, oh, you know what? There is forest on the other side of the mountain that hasn't been, it hasn't been gotten to yet, or in limited supply, because everything on this side of the mountain's already been taken up by the... Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, Del. There we go. And so now we have a bit of a natural harbor going on for the city. We're keeping it very basic. I don't have a Wacom tablet or anything along these lines, but we're going to be doing enough here to know generally what's going to happen and where all this is taking place. Okay, we have a city. We have this, open like farm fields, because you're going to have to support your city somehow. We have to think logically about this. Now, it can just be a shipping city if we want, but there's going to be people who are going out into the countryside, or there's going to just be vegetation that exists. We're right against a big body of fresh water. Things are going to live here. Let's put our Bob Ross perms on. There's happy trees, there's happy squirrels. Things are alive out here. Unless the city is totally decimated, what's going on. Now, how can we work this into our characters? And especially, how are we working this into the Underdark? Well, I will show you. If I can bring it up here. Here we go. So, you can see here that underneath Lake Erie is our salt mines. We have a big fresh body of water, but there are large salt deposits underneath it. And so, this would be a very good way to introduce entrances and exits to the Underdark. Now, if you're not familiar with the Underdark that is a concept. It exists in a lot of fantasy worlds, but it's really canonized in Forgotten Realms. It's an entire underground labyrinthine system that's populated by its own monsters and peoples, like the Drow are the Dark Elves, the Duergar are the Dark Dwarves, that kind of a thing. And so what we can have here, right? And you can look this up. You can look this up on your own. I just wanted to show you real quick that this does exist, and there's nothing wrong with basing your fantasy world with real life elements. So we could even have it be that the Underdark is running underneath the mountain here, and beer holders too. That's right. They got 10 koozies just on antennae here. And that they could either trade salt, or maybe, you know, the city was digging salt up and they dug too deep and they upset some of the people in the Underdark. There's a weird, you know, tenuous relationship between them. Though our mountains here could be the source to get underwater, which could introduce cool environments to your campaign. Not just being caves, but also being in watery caves. If you've played BioShock, you can kind of know what I'm talking about. Totally harmless and really cute. Yeah, they're made of foam. And they probably go squeaky, squeaky if you catch one and you just sort of go whoop, whoop. And so what we can do is take our little pencil here, and we can even say that there's something right about here. And we're going to make a tunnel system, because these people don't usually like coming to the surface. Now, they're going to have a way to come out to the countryside. We're DMs in this, by the way, so our PCs might not even be aware of what's going on here. And that's going to continue up. And they might even have some sort of like a lookout up here, right? So that's more up on the elevation. As that continues down, and this turns into salt mines underneath this giant lake. And naturally, this is going to come out over here, and we're going to have a branch off coming out to the woods. There. Now, Underdark areas usually need some large cavernous areas, as well as maybe some alternate routes. So we can come out over here, and then nice large cavern. This can open up to an area kind of on the side, like a smuggler's cove. And there we go. And then we can do things like, here's a big support pillar for this cavern, and maybe it's an apartment complex. People live in it. As Bob Ross would say, here's our bravery test. Yep. Oh, boy. We have a leak. We sprung a leak somewhere, boys. Where could it be? Where could it be? I gotta look for where it's filling in where it ought not fill in. You'll stand a long ways back and let someone else give a hug before you attempt it. That's probably wise. All right, well, for right now, this thing's being a little bit ornery. Oh, I do see one leak down here. Aha. Have at you. Ooh, close. We're so close. All right, what could be up here that's leaking? There's that. I think that's all looking pretty solid through here. Reinforce that. Hey, there we go. All right, so here's our tunnel system, right? And so we have access to and from the Underdark that could provide opportunities and threats alike. Here's our woods, and this has our urchins leaving the city to go through the wilderness. They make their way over the mountains or under the mountains at their peril and wind up in the woods. Now, in a greater world, this is where we have Falco, who's coming in. He's chaotic neutral, and he does not like people. He doesn't like people messing with the natural order of things. He's not exactly an eco-terrorist like what we had that gnome who thought he was a goblin doing, but he's definitely kind of a hit-and-run guy, or he'll just cause a lot of mischief. Now, these two are related by class in some way. One taught the other. And they're both kind of the same age, right? So he is 132 years old, and she is 162 years old, and she's looking good for it too. She's just an adult while he's at midlife. He's the more wild one, so he probably taught her after running away, after teaching Rin. And Rin, at some point in time, knew Germaine. Well, Germaine is only 28, and yet here she is at level 18. So clearly, something to do with her pact right here has empowered her. And this fiend could live maybe in the Underdark if we're writing a story, and we will, but we're just making a map right now. Pardon me. So the fiend can live in the Underdark, or could have been, there could even be a tunnel that has been dug. Actually, this is something that we should also add, is that there's kind of a secret tunnel, somewhere into the heart of the city. And probably not just to one somewhere. It's probably going to be to multiple somewheres. But for the scope of our map, this is what's happening. There we go. Whoa, Steel Dust, thank you so much. Oh, you guys, I only just hit affiliate here, and you're jumping on, and I super appreciate that. And here I don't have the fancy graphics from Streamlabs OBS because it was throwing frames like a mad frame throwing piece of machinery. Oh my gosh, you guys. Well, it's all the more reason that I'm going to continue to give you bang for your buck, that I'm going to make sure you're getting quality D&D and storytelling contests. Contests, yes, I will do contests, but also content. And that we are going to continue doing this together. We're going to do this sort of mod-a-week formula, and I'm going to add more commands, get the Discord going, and this is going to be a community of ourselves that are, we're supporting each other, and it's this nice yin-yang back and forth. So thank you. That really does mean a lot. So here. It means so much, Steel Dust, that I'm going to duel you out of appreciation. Oh, thank you. Hey, you didn't have to throw it for me. And don't forget too, by the way, if any of you are new in here, I added some more chat commands as a way to celebrate and to have fun. Another one that we have, you can roll exclamation point 2d20 if you want an advantage-disadvantage roll, or exclamation point battle to try and fight a monster for an amount of experience points, minimum 100 you want to bid. They're tough monsters, though, I'm warning you. But you can, high risk, high reward. Or you can do exclamation point random, and you can, it's a storytelling prompt. In this case, I sense someone or something approaching. Cautiously, I hail the figure, hoping it's my friend. Steel Dust 10. Is that you? It suddenly responds, "Be yourself," which is an emote that isn't showing up, but, so if you're telling me to be myself, Steel Dust, I'm going to be a cool dude and wear some sunglasses. Okay, you're you. Just had to make sure. Lots of shape changers around these here parts. Alright, so already we have a map that is incorporating these 3 characters into it. And we're going to be able to build a strong story around it. I don't want to put in too many details just yet, because now we can consult our handy-dandy DMG for a couple other features. Remember, I like to try and include 3 unique features on any map that we draw. Now, could that be the mountains? Could that be the lake? Yes. I would generally consider that maybe one feature, right? You have these astounding natural features that are present. Is a city itself a feature? Maybe, maybe not. But let's come down here. We do have a way to randomly generate things like monuments. So if you're having a brain fart and you want to be able to generate this content or to provide an interesting prompt for yourself or your players to consider, here you go. Roll a d20, and you can see that there's different monuments that can already exist. Here's ruins, settlements, weird locales, right? Boulders carved to look like talking faces, a wrecked ship which might be nowhere near water. So those could be cool things, too, to add in. There's a little bit on wilderness survival. Not going to worry about that just yet. Okay, here's our settlement. We have a couple dice rolls. And I'm going to want your all's opinion as we're making this city. Like, we're going to need a name. We're going to need some other stuff here. Let's determine what the race relations are, right? Because we have all of these we have these 9 races that could possibly live together. I mean, it's technically more, but just let's roll with it. We're going to actually roll, let's see. Races. We're going to go dominant, and I guess it would be like majority and minority. I'm going to roll 2d10 and see who's here. Oh, haha, that was a reset button. I'm SMRT. 5 and 8. Now, we could roll more if we wanted to, but these are going to be the 2 primary ones. So we could even see, oh, it's like 80% majority, 10% minority, and then the other 10% is a mix of the others, and that's perfectly fine as well. So we have this. Ruler's status. We're going to roll a d20. A 13. Contested leadership and open fighting. Okay. This is leading to some interesting stuff here. And you know what? This is really only considering 2 of the city, not of the wilds Underdark. Notable traits of the city. We're going to roll another d20. 7. It's a major trade center, okay? That would make sense, right? It's a port city, so we have lots of ship trading, good place for mysteries, right? Wharfs and docks and things along those lines. Known for its d20. Known for its 18. Ooh, known for its powerful guilds. No wonder there's contested leadership and open fighting. See, look, we just trust this. We're letting the creative juices flow. We're giving into this, and this story is writing itself right in front of our eyes. And the current calamity, aside from some open fighting for contested power, is going to be another d20. And that's going to be number 20. Religious sects. Sturgle. They sturgle for power. Okay, so this is going to be... This is almost like a Shanghai, right? This is a busy port city. We're talking like unfettered capitalism going on. There's powerful guilds that are trying to organize, all kinds of merchants, all kinds of faiths. This is like a very open market, probably very cutthroat market in more ways than one. And so there's this contested leadership, and let me bring up real quick, between whom? Between Dragonborn and... Okay. So the majority... Interesting. So, this is going to indicate then... So if there's enough people in this city that a minority is going to be half-orcs, in order to make a half-orc, you got to have a human, you got to have an orc, you got a pineapple pen, and then you get baby half-orcs. You see your sister getting in on a power struggle. And you know what? Hey, Delcorn, you bring up a good point. There's nothing saying that characters from other quote-unquote mods that we've made can't exist in the mods that we're making on the current week. This could very well be taking place, meanwhile, one kingdom over. So while they're having those struggles, we're having struggles here with this party. And there's nothing saying that these characters can't go back and forth as we're creating this world together. So this means then, so the races, there's a lot of half-orcs that are living in the city. And this is going to mean then that in the, we'll say in the forest and mountains, there's actual orcs. And in the Underdark, it doesn't even necessarily have to be populated. Maybe it was at one point in time, and we can put a cool underground feature. In fact, we can go back to one of those charts there for that. But maybe they're half-orc or sort of by-rider humans. But they're living under Dragonborn. This is a Dragonborn city, or at least it's a Dragonborn-controlled city. They're in the majority, maybe not of the physical population, but they're in the majority of how they split votes, or of how they control the guilds, or things along those lines. Uh-oh, Perugia's at it again. Everyone take caution. Perugia, you sense someone, or something approaching. Cautiously, you hail the figure, hoping it's your friend. Zelda Master 52? Is that you? It suddenly responds. Kappa Ross! What do you do? Well, Perugia, is that something that Zelda Master would normally say? Is that your code word? Or suddenly, as this figure pulls back its hood, is this a monster that's going to leap out and attack you? You have a little bit of a storytelling obligation now that you have initiated some kind of an encounter with this perhaps Zelda Master, perhaps not. Uh-oh. Or, because you just drew from the deck like that, what if Zelda Master 52 is now the rogue that's haunting you, Perugia? Hashtag just saying. This is the power of storytelling. There's obligations and responsibilities. Okay. So we're not going to get into the street level. Now, we have 2 urchins in the party. We're thinking as DMs. Yes, we should probably make a somewhat detailed city map. And maybe I can do that on another session or something coming up. I don't want to get into a detailed city right now. I want to make the region, right? We have these rangers rolling around. We have all this stuff happening. We know there's a city, and we know there's trade guilds and a port and all this other stuff. It's up here in the haze. I don't need to draw out the 10 docks or whatever it has. We don't need random weather. Okay, let's do this. Feature 1, Feature 2, Feature 3. The first, and by the way, if you're going to be having a shipping area, for whatever reason here, we're going to come here and we're going to say that by dredging or just how it works, maybe this is actually, it gets deep very quickly, or it's at least like sort of a medium depth port. It might not be like a 200 feet, or it's not a Lake Superior, right? It's Lake Erie gets maybe 30 feet deep, 40. So we're going to have a little bit of this. But then it's going to get dredged out, and we want at least a medium depth for river boats and lake boats to come around and be able to trade. There we go. Whoops. I see you. Come here. There we go. Whoa, ho, ho. Nope, none of that. None of that. There we go. There we go. Nice. We're making the city come together. We're making a region that makes sense. It's thriving. We're populating it. Everything's just, it fits. So when you as a DM are describing this area, your PC should be able to understand the basic premise well enough. This is where we have fun with the features, because then you can say, oh, but there's this. Everything is normal, but these three things. And that's easy for them to be able to keep in their noggins. Now, one of them, for sure, we have the salt mine / Underdark entrance. I'm not going to count the fact that we have water and mountains next to each other. That's 90% of Bob Ross's paintings. That happens everywhere. That itself is not unique. But what we can do is maybe generate something weird about the area that we can weave into our story. Let's get our D20 out. And come on, hit. There we go. 10. A permanent portal to another plane of existence. Ooh, this would be my bane. I'd have it be a teleportation circle somewhere, or it would be an effect that does something else. But let's roll with what this with what's in the DMG. Permanent portal to another plane of existence. Now, where do we put said plane? We have a lot of options. Do we want it to be in some like random salt mine, like a disused little like exploratory finger? Do we want it to be, it was smack dab in the middle of the city? It was sort of like the city was built atop this portal. We could have it be deep in the woods, or we could even say we can put it on a little island. Now, because of our last map, I don't want to do that because we already had that kind of like island in the middle. But what we can do is come out here and let's grab a little star here, and we'll make this purple. Where do we want this portal? Well, if the Underdark and its denizens were minding their own business here, and they only just built the tunnel to get into the city, which came afterwards, right? Because the city can get built up on a non-geological timescale, but to carve out all of these caverns and to have things drip and dissolve and all that, that tunnel's been here a lot longer than the city. So this is going to come in, and we're going to say that there's something. Actually, you know what? We're going to put it kind of in the middle of town, and this could be part of what is causing the guilds to be powerful, and maybe even what they're fighting over. We don't know where it goes. Maybe they don't. They just know that it's a portal to somewhere. Nothing's come through, but nothing can go in, and it's potential. It's definitely storytelling fodder. Okay. Now, we can have a natural monument. We can have an artificial one. Let's roll another D20 and find out what we're going to have for this area. A 4. Giant statues carved out of a mountain side or cliff. And it just so happens we have some of those. Thank you to our rangers who spawned them into existence. Let's spread these out a little bit here. So this is economic, a threat or opportunity. is it incorporated into the city? You know, like a subway or something? Just ask questions, right? Ask questions your players would ask you. What comes off the top of your head? You're looking at this map and suddenly you say, oh, this is weird. What's this thing? I don't know. What is this thing? Of whom? Which race or races? Old, new, part of the hot contention to find out who gets their face on the side on the who gets their face on the aggro crag. If any of you remember Nickelodeon Guts. So these are the first 3 questions, right? What are the most obvious things? You're going to need to answer those for your PCs if you're running this as a mod and you're describing the area and we're developing the town. I choose not to acknowledge the individual, and you're grabbing a snack. Okay. Thought you could wait until the next break. We are going to be taking another break here soon, because it's been about an hour or so, and we're almost done. Like, we've built the area, we've gone over major features and how things are starting to lay out. So we have a party of 3, and we're going to add in 2 more. Let's put these in, and we're going to say that there are some faces whoops, we don't want them that color. We want these faces to stand out. We can even have them kind of go out into the port here. And so what we'll do is we'll have it be like, there we go. Here we go. We have the 10 faces. I just made that up, but it sounds really cool, doesn't it? They watch both sides of the mountain. And we could even say, like, oh, they're the 10 faces of, you know... Perugia, oh hey, thank God, wipes the cold sweat from my face. Thought you were a monster. Tugs on the pants of the fake Zelda Master 52. Let's go get some drinks. Halfling, I'm 3 foot tall and can't know he is a fake. Have to take him with me. Rip. I like that, Perugia. Good thinking. Alright, so here we have a thriving landscape. You know, out here are the... are the farming fields, and we could even fill those in, like if we wanted like yellow for agriculture or something, we could do that. The city's in turmoil, but the city is supporting itself through trade and whoever's living out kind of in the boonies. We have this ripe ground to produce these 2 urchins. Demonic collaboration, right? We have these weird faces in the rocks. Well, maybe Jermaine Sweet Tea Swift here stumbled across something, went down into the mines and she wasn't supposed to. There's lots of options here. So now what I need from you all, because we've finished up pretty much what we're going to do with this part of the broadcast. I would like a couple different names for what you think this city should be called, or you can just throw out names and we can assign them to the forest or the mountains or the lake or the city or things along those lines. But I want to start labeling and identifying what this place is, maybe who founded it. Remember that it is ruled over by Dragonborn, and it doesn't even sound like the Dragonborn themselves are getting along. They might even be having some factional fighting, right? The chromatics versus the metallics, or even intra split. If there's a gold ruling something and then a silver wants to take over, then maybe that's happening, and they're leaving the reds and the blues to themselves. Oh, pardon me. I gotta breathe. I'm getting so excited doing this. This is a great night. So we've satisfied the conditions for our characters. We've made a believable, living, breathing environment with interesting features, and now we just need to button it up and give it a little bit of personality. I'm just gonna make a label called names of things, and we can assign it afterwards. So chat, come on, throw out names of something. You know, Lake so-and-so, or the whatever mountains, the Face Mountains, or the Plains of da-da-da. And you don't even have to qualify it by saying plains. You could just say, I don't know, I like the word tribute, and I think we should use that somewhere. Okay, we can work tribute in. Here, I'm going to bring up the map so you can check it out, and what's coming to mind here. Throw out words, adjectives, give me a couple names. Klabhiem. Okay. Good, good, good. I'm digging it. So we have a Klabhiem. Something here is going to be Klabhiem. What else? Now remember, you can do fun things by looking around you. For instance, I randomly have a packet of Taco Bell fire sauce. And so you can look at this and you're like, Fire Ridge, or Lebocat, because that's Taco Bell backwards, right? What's Lebocat? I don't know, but we can probably find a name for it. You know, the Lebocat Woods, or something along those lines. Oh, don't worry, Perugia. Just put together some consonants. You can put whatever you want out there. We have other things like the Greater Grasslands. Okay, very good. Something else that we can do. Okay, so here's a paper over here that has the word weekly on it. So we can just go Eekly or Eckley. These are fantasy names. This is a fantasy world. Who cares? You can make it sound dumb, over the top. You can just put random stuff together. I'm looking at miniatures from White Metal Games, so we can even say things like the White Metal Mines. We can say Cloudtouch Mountains. Okay. Loch Idle. Okay. Calamity Chasm. Well, something happened there, right? And if it didn't, then it's just waiting for something to happen. Ah, Morgswood. Ah, I see what you're doing, Caboose. The Morgswood. In that case, I'll see your Morgswood and come back with a Semjabu. How about that? What's a Semjabu? I don't know. It could be one of the faces. Maybe it's the leader of the faces. Maybe Semjabu is the name of right. We have orcs living in the mountains. Maybe that's just what they call the mountain range. You know, this is the Semjabu. Perugio, this one's for you. We're going to do a... The Rupiga. What is a Rupiga? I don't know. Maybe people just call it rupee for short. But we have the Rupiga, or we could even say, if we have the Calamity Chasm, maybe we have the Rupee Gap. I don't know. Whatever you like. Kitteh Lake. I wonder what's around you. But we can have fun. We can put some, tongue-in-cheek stuff in here, too. Here, we'll fantasy it up, and we'll put an extra apostrophe in there. This is the Kitteh Lake. The Hex Mine Guild House. Okay, this must be one of the rival factions. Boom. We're generating things. Oh, all neurons are firing. We're populating the city. We already have the name of one of the major guilds, and we have some local orc stuff, and then we have some more maybe classically humanish name things. The scratching post. Now, come on, there's no tabaxi here. Maybe there's a couple, but there's not really a lot of tabaxi here. Come on, Caboose. No, I like the spirit you're putting in. Don't let me poo-poo your ideas. Now, what we can do, because, having, one thing in there is sort of like a fun wink and nod. If you kind of do it overboard, unless you want sort of the fun, pun, and hammy game, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what we could do is, oh, I'm seeing a long stop in, but I do like post, right? A post is, it's for packages, it's for mail, it's a guard post. Maybe it's something that's keeping watch. It could be like a lighthouse on the lake, or it could be something built up on the mountains to watch both sides in case there's trouble. So we can do a post of some kind. If that's to the south, then we can call it the West Post. We're going to combine west and east. And it's a post that can look out over both of those directions and see if there's trouble coming from the forest or from the plains and is going to threaten the immediate area. So maybe the locals just call it the West Post, because that's the way it looks. A Leviathan Pass, okay. And then, okay, so it looks like we also have a Farlight Post. Okay, so now we're developing a system, right? Now we have maybe some roads coming to and from. We don't have just ships that are coming in. Now, of course, we have our Underdark area. This seems to be not quite fully deforested. I'm sure Falco's happy about that. But that doesn't mean that we can't have things like some roads. We'll do this in a pencil, and we'll make this kind of a thick one here. So maybe we have a trade road that goes north, and then it branches off and heads in that direction. And in order to ferry supplies up a little bit more, in fact, here, let's do this. Let's name, if we don't have one already, and maybe we do, let's name this Crossroads, right? This is going to come down, this road's going to come up, and this is actually going to be like a highway going into the tunnels of the Underdark to deliver supplies that way. And so maybe this is a post right here of some kind. This is a post, but we can name the roads. We can name the crossroads. See, look at this. We're just generating we have MS Paint open. That's all we're using. And look at this. We're building an entire region together, and it makes sense, and it works, and it flows. Back with hot tea and cold cereal. Well, Del, you're settling in at a good time here. Here we go. I forgot to hit play on this, but we're getting some building music going on here. This is a dwarven city. We're not building a dwarven city, maybe a little bit, but this is the ambient music that we're doing here. So we have things like Highland Port. We have ports and posts. as a lighthouse for the lake. Northern Road is the cold road, and the right side is the sunrise road. Yep. It may sound really hammy and obvious because you're like, oh, okay, it's going that way. But you know what? Everyone's going to remember that, and they're going to know which way it goes, because that's how a lot of things are named. You know, think about a lot of our last names. You know, well, especially if you're from like a Western European heritage. If your last name is Cooper, someone in your family at some point in time was probably making barrels. If your last name was Smith, you can guess what one of your ancestors was doing at a time. In fact, Caboose, you could probably back me up on this when it comes to last names, when it comes to even things like, now, if I recall correctly, if something was called a shire, that meant that there was a salt deposit nearby. Am I correct in that? Do you know? And there was just differences in how things were named, and they were named obviously, so you knew what you were doing and where you were going. Delcorin is saying the Besmirchers crossing. Okay. So it sounds like something happened here at some point in time. And this is the cavern track. See, look, Caboose, you know, completely, he's prompted by me, but completely unprompted by me, being a professional UK resident, has backed up that we are doing everything as, you know, as heathen Americans, you know, just right. Thank you. Okay, so look, we throw out a bunch of stuff. Now we can just sit back and say, stretch, because we're going to do that here soon. Stretch. I'm going to look at my map, and I'm just going to let my eyes wander, and things are going to snap in place, and we're going to go from there. A shire was a royal county controlled by a shire reeve. This became a shire reeve or a sheriff. Okay. I'm sorry. I thought it had something to do with. I thought it had something to do with a salt deposit. With my last name, you can guess what it is off of my username here, but it's a very Welsh. I'm Germanic and Welsh with my family history, and I have a map. Oh, shoot. I should try and find it somewhere. But I have a map of Morganshire. And it's really cool. I love looking at it. As that was something of my grandfather's, who I think was his grandfather's. And, well, my family seal is what you see as my channel. Like, that's my crest. And we have the whole family motto of onwards and upwards and up from there. So, hey, some backstory. Do-do-do-do. Did I put in the Leviathan Pass? Okay, I did. And Highland Port. Okay, Steel Dust, I'm caught up on you. Okay, so we have this list of names. Awesome start. We created a map. Look, we used MS Paint, but I guarantee you, if you print this off and you hand this to your adventurers, they might laugh at you a little bit, but they're going to understand what's here. They're going to be able to follow it. You can point and say, here's a portal. Here's the faces. Here's the Underdark. Here's the forest. And they're going to follow along, and they're going to be able to travel, and they're going to start using the names that you're putting on the map. You don't want to overburden them with detail, at least not at the beginning. Give them a very simple map. It conveys the thought. It creates a biome that they can understand. You're throwing in a few twists, and it's up to you to continue twisting that as the plot unravels. But we have an understanding base, and that's exactly what we need in a storytelling journey. Yes, Morgan is a very Welsh name. I must have had a lot of coal miners and beer drinkers in my family. So, oh, you know what? Because you live in the future, Caboose, Yaki Dar to you. I probably mispronounced that, but Yaki Dar. Cool. All right. So I'm going to go on break. I'm going to take another stretch. I'm going to drink a little bit more sweet tea that's not sugar. And we're going to come back, and we're just going to have an open Q&A. You know, we'll banter back and forth. We can fill in details after the fact, too. I do not record part 3. Part 3 of every broadcast is you and me. Heads up. It doesn't get reposted on YouTube. It's just us doing our thing. We're telling stories, and you know what? When we're done and the door closes behind us, it disappears. And it's a memory for us. It's something that no one else can intrude in on. No one else can see. It's us, you and me. Okay, I'm going to mute the mic so I don't sound weird when I'm gulping down this tea. And I'm going to be gone, I don't know, 5-10 minutes at most. I'll make sure to turn the mic on and talk first before I pop back on.